Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, and many more things. Depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on Twitter, you know me as PD Beats. And my guest is an actor and a storyteller. He's been in a lot of cool film and TV, including General Hospital, Supernatural, Castlevania, The Bold Type, and he is most recently the host of Fireside Readings. Gildart Jackson is with us. Gildart, welcome to Popternative.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's pretty funny because I call, actors, musicians, writers, storytellers, but you literally are these days also a storyteller.
I am. I've done a great many audiobooks, and now I'm telling somebody else's story. And for Fireside Reading, I'm telling one of the greatest stories ever told. That's a story written by Charles Dickens called Great Expectations. So that's what I am, a storyteller, but when I'm saying the words of some other wonderful writer.
What was the first? When did you kind of decide that acting and storytelling was something you wanted to do? Was it at a very young age? Did it happen a little later in your teens or adulthood? Like, when did that kind of start for Gildart Jackson?
It started early. I liked being in the school plays, but I wasn't really brave enough to go and decide I wanted to do that. So I did another whole thing first. I became a lawyer, and I practiced as a lawyer for several years before finally realizing that I was sort of not very happy doing that job and that I wanted to try something else. So it so happened that at the time that they offered me a partnership with the law firm, I decided to quit and start acting.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's a tough time with this whole quarantine. One thing that you've done to kind of pass the time and bring some joy to people's houses during this tough time is you started, Fireside Reads.
Yeah, it's Fireside Reading is the channel on YouTube, and it's also at Fireside Reading on Instagram. And my idea was, the very first audiobook I did actually was I sat at home and I read The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes to my dad in front of the fire while he was not very well. And I realized that I'm quite good at reading out loud, and he had read to me when I was a kid. So I realized that was a way to have a simple sort of form of entertainment. Mm-hmm. And then when the whole coronavirus thing came along, I thought to myself, well, there are people probably like my dad, who's now passed away, but if he was around, he would have been lonely. He would have needed some companionship. It's Great Expectations, and I just do a chapter a day, and it's on Instagram Live at 5 p.m. in Pacific time.
It's one of those things where you go live, and Instagram Live is really cool because you can like have people tune in from like all around the world for it as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I hear from people that they sit at home with their family or just alone, and it's sort of warming. That's the idea. It's just companionship and warming, and people all over the world, Spain, and I mean, it seems like it is something that if people gravitate towards it, they can just have a simple form of entertainment.
No, absolutely. What was the first book that you kind of fell in love with when you were young that you really, really enjoyed? Was it stuff like you're reading like the Charles Dickens, or was it other kind of literature?
Well, I think that interestingly, the first one was, I very much enjoyed Sherlock Holmes, and my dad read that to me in front of the fire. So me doing the same with him many years later was a sort of reciprocation of something that we had enjoyed together. So being read to out loud, I've tried to read to our kids. it seems it's an old world kind of way of being entertained, but it's slow and it's exciting and it makes you feel good.
No, for sure. We're going to step away a little bit from, Fireside Reading and talk a little bit of some other projects you worked on. I mean, Castlevania is a really cool TV show that you provide a voice on that show. I mean, season 3 was nuts. I mean, that's just must have been a really fun project to be a part of.
It is. It's very good. And the guy who writes it, his name is Warren Ellis. He's the showrunner and creator, and he's a bigwig in the world of what do they call graphic novels? I call them comics, but they're graphic novels. And he has recently said some nice things about my character, which is called Fly's Eyes. And it's good fun to do his stuff because it's absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows what it means, but you just sort of say the words and then it takes on a whole meaning of its own. It's great. It's really fun to do.
No, absolutely. I find it really cool because, graphic novel culture it's always been there, and a lot of shows now are being created that were based on graphic novels.
Yeah.
And that's something that's been happening like forever, but I feel like there's been kind of like a boom in the last 3 years with like adaptations of graphic novels.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the powers that be that decide what to do have realized that if you have a big audience of somebody who likes a graphic novel, that they're probably going to be inclined to want to at least see the movie or the TV show about it. And so I think that's why they greenlight so many of them, and they're good stories and they're fun things to watch.
Absolutely. For moving away from Castlevania a little bit, you're working on a show with your wife's show, The Bold Type, as well.
Yeah, that's a show set in New York, and I have a tiny part in it, but I play my wife's husband in real life and on the show. She plays the editor-in-chief of a magazine called Scarlet Magazine, and it's kind of a bit like Cosmopolitan. And the 3 young heroines of the show have all got jobs working at Scarlet Magazine, and she is their mentor as they go through the trials and tribulations of experiencing work and New York and dating in the big city. It's a really good show.
Absolutely. And no, and your wife is really talented as well. A lot of people know her obviously from The Office.
Yeah. She plays Jan on The Office, and she also was nominated for an Emmy for playing a role on Transparent. She played Tammy on Transparent. Many people won't recognize her, but she's a very talented actress.
Transparent was on Amazon, I believe. So wasn't that like one of the first like Amazon shows to kind of get? I feel like it was one of the first ones, right?
Yeah, it was. I think the first. It was one of the shows they made, and it was the first one to get critical acclaim. They won Emmys. They had a lot of success, becoming the darling of various polls, and people's thought it was a very good show, and it is.
I find it interesting too because yourself and your wife, you're both working a lot of shows, and you're always constantly working, and you're in the same field. Is it a struggle sometimes when sometimes you're both working on 2 different projects and the schedules are completely different? Because I'm sure that could happen.
Luckily, at the moment, we are both, by both working on her show.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. That shoots in Montreal, and we get to go and hang out in Montreal.
That's where I'm from. I'm from Montreal, Quebec.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
What a great city that is.
Mm-hmm. I live in Ottawa. I live in Ottawa now, but I'm from Montreal.
It is a fantastic city. It is so exciting. The people are so nice. It's just such a great, it's so much, there's food, there's things to do. Gets cold in the winter, but I live in California, so it's a little snow is good in moderation.
Oh no, absolutely. Montreal knows how to throw a party, Gildart. We know how to throw a party over there.
Now, why did you move to Ottawa?
So I moved for my father's work, working in public health. He had to get a job to work in Ontario because and my dad's the chief medical officer of health for Eastern Ontario.
Wow!
And so he's pretty busy. Yeah, he's pretty busy right now, if you would guess.
Yeah, and does he have to go in and hang out all the time?
He's working from home right now, but he is working nonstop. Like he's 7 a.m. in the morning and sometimes like 10 p.m. at night, just like on calls. And you know what? Like guys like my father, they're the real heroes right now, and I just want to address that.
Yeah, no, I and please send him my thanks.
Yeah, so those are the real heroes right now working in public health.
I couldn't agree more. It's amazing the work that they do.
No, and absolutely. So he had to become an Ontario resident, but I was also like finishing up. So in Montreal, you do grade 11 and then you do 2 years of pre-college called Cégep, which is like more specialized. And I did the cinema video communications program over there at Dawson College. Then I moved to, when I moved to Ottawa, I just did my bachelor's and my master's in communications at Carleton University. And I just stayed here since.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I haven't been to Ottawa, but I one day I hope to go because
a lot of the Hallmark films, like Christmas films, are shot here because it's very beautiful city, Gildart.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. And does it get cold in the winter?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You could Google it. There was a point in time where at one point Ottawa was like the most cold city in the planet.
Really?
Yes.
You mean a point in time this year or at one time in history?
At one time. There was like 2-3 years ago, I think 2017, it was based on like temperatures, right?
Yeah,
it was like the coldest.
I mean, in Montreal, it gets cold.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm sure there's a lot of good, I miss Montreal around supper time. There's some good restaurants there.
They really are amazing.
Did you go, are you a fan of smoked meat?
Yeah, I like me some smoked meat.
Did you go, where do you usually go? Do you go to like Schwartz? Do you go to Rubens?
So the drivers on the show, they know everything.
So you started Fireside Reading because, the quarantine, but this is, you're an actor. You're also like a content creator right now. You're creating something and putting it on the internet. What advice do you have, not just in the quarantine time, but in general? What advice do you have for like content creators or, people who want to write a novel or a movie? Do you have anything you could, because you're pretty seasoned, you've done a lot of amazing things, right? So I'm sure you'll be able to give some good advice.
In this particular world, though, I think I'm in the seat of needing the advice because this is new for me. It's great. I really like it. I like it because it's helping people. Mm-hmm. But it was very seat of the pants. A friend helped me get up on Instagram, and then Melora put the word out. She has a large Instagram following.
Yeah, she does.
A bunch of people then sort of took a look at what I'm doing, and some of them have stayed, which has been great. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that I have great advice to give anybody about how to build an audience. And I think the way I'm thinking about it is much more like I'm hoping that there are a few people out there who I might help with this reading. Yep. And I feel it's strange, you put something out there, especially the live Instagram. Yeah. You can see people responding, and that's heartening. But it's also just a gift. It's a gift to some people who might want it, and that feels good. So I suppose, I don't know whether that's advice. It's just what I'm doing.
No, absolutely. Well, Gildart, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
And thank you for Fireside Reading. It's a really cool, really sweet thing you're doing right now during the time of need, for sure.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad you say that. I like doing it, and I enjoy it. And also, to your dad, get some rest. And
I'll tell him about your channel. We'll connect you guys. I'll tell him about
he
your
probably
channel.
won't have time, but I would like. It's there are so many people who are doing so many wonderful things.
Well, I go live with guests like every night, like on my Instagram as well. So it's a lot of fun.
You should be giving some tips out.
Yeah, I mean, I followed you on Instagram. You have any questions about anything, you let me know, and I will help you. That's my background was in digital media communications and public relations. That's my background.
Really? So
yes.
You know how to navigate these waters.
Absolutely. I created an Instagram account for my dog, and he has 154,000 followers.
No, come on.
Yes, he does.
How many followers do you have?
I have, so on Instagram I have about 4,500, but on Twitter I have about 16,000. Because I'm a hockey guy, right? I did sports media, and I worked for the Ottawa Senators. I worked for Hockey Canada. So and I wrote for Sports Illustrated. That's why I got the blue check mark. I wear many hats, Gildart. I do sports, entertainment, media. I interview everyone, though. I don't just interview athletes. It's all over the place. So we'll definitely connect. And, I know she's busy too. And, but if your wife would ever want to come on my show for an interview, I'd love to interview her about her show, The Bold Type.
Great. That's wonderful. And do you think your dog would be able to be on that show when you do interview her? Because she likes the canine friend.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Your dog has how many followers?
154,000 followers.
How did you do that?
That's a question for another conversation. No, it's a couple things. It's funny because I'm sure, like, people ask me a lot. Like, I have a lot of ideas and thoughts about stuff, and I always thought, because I wrote my research essay on brand integration, and my case study was on the Los Angeles Kings in California and their use of social media and brand equity and everything. So I kind of used that, and that got published in Sports Illustrated. But I've always been interested in maybe writing some books about that type of stuff. But it's content plans. It's content is king, Gildart. My dog's very cute, so that helps as well. But it's content, it's proper use, it's scheduling, it's all that stuff. But
what is your dog's Instagram account?
It's I'll send it to you, but it's Little Leo the Morky. His name's Leo, so it's Little
Leo
the Morky.
Okay.
So I'll send it to you, and people can check out your channel before we wrap up at Fireside Reading, correct?
Yeah, Fireside Reading on YouTube. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, it was a pleasure chatting with you.
All right. Likewise. Thank you so much.
No problem. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. And until next time, this is Gildart Jackson and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.